tab, which is going to be this. Awesome. All right, as I mentioned, my name's Trav and this is Dom. We'll be taking you through the 10, I might just make this a slideshow too, so it looks a little bit more profesh. There we go. We'll be taking you through the 10 tips to master Service Hub. Some of this stuff is fairly easy and some people might know, but also there's some stuff in there that's just come out probably in regards to some of that SLA stuff that's just fairly recent that we'll touch on. But like I mentioned, answer any questions. I'll ask any questions in the chat and we'll get going with that one. One thing I like to sort of say before I do these is that these are just to be used as reference and inspiration. We've obviously got a test dummy account here, so don't copy it and then ask why it's not working. Just inspiration and how they can be customized to your business. Obviously, HubSpot can do a bunch of different things and how it works. So use it to inspire you. And then if you want to copy some of that and alter it slightly, be my guest. But these are just for you to get inspired to go through and to make it a bit easier for you. I'm already doing this cornery stuff. Cool. Awesome. All right. I mentioned that I'm Trav and that's Dom. So we'll get cracked into it just because it is 10 past now. We ran out of time. So creating tickets using forms. I will bring, you know what I have to do? I will stop sharing on this and I'll share the actual screen. 1 second. Window. This one here. That might be better there. And then I'll bring over this one here. Cool. Awesome. One of the things that we can do is we can actually go through, instead of having to go through and create tickets, conversations inbox, or manually do it in the ticket pipeline, we can make it easy for your customers, I guess, here at Neighbourhood as well. It's as easy as creating a form, just a normal form, but just make sure that you're using specific ticket properties. Now you can sort of see here now, if you go to your conversations inbox, and then go up and press the cog, you'll get taken to this sort of area here. In this area, you can connect a channel. If we click connect a channel and click on forms, it will allow us to go through and either create a new form or connect an existing form. So we've connected an existing form here. And what we've done is we've loaded it up with obviously collecting specific information about the actual customer, but also we've got ticket properties that are specific to a ticket. And we've gone ahead and built that out. I might, can we have a look at that somewhere?
In the form still?
Manage form. There you go. Everyone's having a good day. So here is the ticket, the form that we've created. Obviously, these contact properties, which are green, for last name and email. So we can obviously associate that to the relevant contact. And then we're going to start using some contact properties. So we're going to do the ticket name. Obviously, what's the issue, and then a bit of a description. Then we'll step into the priority, which is important. Obviously, 3 here. These are straight out. This should be straight out of the packet if you've got Service Hub Pro, and be able to use these and drag these across from the left-hand side there. We've got file upload. This might or might not be relevant to you. Just depends on, I guess, service type that you're sort of looking for. But usually it's good if you're trying to get as much context as possible about the problem. You could potentially ask them to upload a screenshot of where they're seeing the issue or whatnot and upload that sort of document or file to the actual ticket itself. And also work out the category of where it is. Now, you don't have to call it category. You can sort of say what's the issue about. This will assist us, I guess, with some routing if you want to go to the right people, if it's a billing issue or if you're an e-commerce shipping issue, or a refund or anything like that, then we'll be able to send it to the right person. I highly recommend doing this. You're just going to have one person triaging everything, which it could be used a little bit more effectively. So if we go back, I will actually bring, if we got the ticket here, I will actually bring our portal or our customer portal, which we'll talk about in just a second. But it will basically look something like this form here that we can see, and that's basically using it. So once that, it will automatically create a form in the ticket pipeline. So you're not having to manually go back and forth, and you can just sort of almost, I guess, reduce the friction between you and your customers to make sure, I guess, it's easy for them to submit request for you guys. Anything you want to add to that?
I think something worth noting is that that form will continue to work like a regular form. So it's going to create a contact as well as a ticket. So if you have, or if you want tickets created when new people are added to the system, maybe your like contact us page on your website, fill that in. You want to make sure they're in your CRM with all the information you need from them. It'll do both things. So feel free to load it up with those contact fields as well. If you have a persona field, if you want to know where they're from or their phone number or something like that, add all that in as well as those you'll get two for the price of one.
Perfect. All right, we'll go to the next one. Routing conversations.
Routing conversations. So when it comes to deciding who responds to a service support request, your bloody corners are going to do my head in here. It can be very important that the right messaging gets to the right people. Being able to route the conversation to that person is very, very important. What we're looking at here on the screen now is how you go about defining who gets the support request when it comes in. Now, these tools aren't super deep. There's not a ton of customization you can do. However, what you can do is say any
just quickly, how did we get to that?
So here on the inbox settings where Trav was a moment ago when he was setting up the channels. So if you go channels, we were looking at the forms a moment ago and editing the options and forms in the form.
Yep.
This one here, by comparison, is in the email option. So you can see here, we are at mbh.co, our support email address. If I go in here and edit that one, then it takes you to this configuration page. And then one more click into automation to see where you can choose who's going to receive it. So at its core, it will come through as unassigned. If you don't set up any of these settings, new tickets that are created, new conversations that come in will be unassigned and open to be triaged by a member of team, whoever gets there first. But if you want a certain person to be receiving certain communications, then this is a very easy way to do it. Let's say, for example, this email address, our we are at MBH, was only for our support team. Call it, technical support at MBH or something like that. I can choose a specific team. If it's going to go to our technical team, for example, I can select them. I can say, hey, this is our marketing support channel. It will be responded to by marketing staff. What the system is assign that to the person who's most available. If someone's online, if there's only one person online, they get it. If there's multiple people online, it'll pick the least busy person with the least number of existing conversations or tickets. And it will send them that conversation, make them the owner of it, and it's their job to follow up on it. Alternatively, if you want it to go to specific people, that's an option as well. Or possibly the most important one is if they have a contact owner already, if this is someone who is already known to your business, assign it to the person that they have a relationship with, so that person can pick up the conversation wherever it is being left. So if you have certain support tickets that you want to get assigned to certain people, into the settings, into the email option, through configuration to automation, and then you can define all of that in here.
Sort of clicking on tickets, or just depending on the situation?
I think that's a bit of a separate thing. Like if you want to push any of those inbox conversations to tickets, you can. This is another feature. It's not super related to the assigning, but depending on how you work, if you work off of a ticket pipeline, if you want tickets stored so that they can be moved and managed individually, I think it makes sense to push it to tickets. Some people like to just live in the conversations and just treat everything like a chat. So that's also an option.
So I think if there's some people out there that like support at yourdomain.com or whatever it is, if you want to get a little bit more granular about how to vet those specific support requests, I think based on what we've got here is it makes sense to potentially set up different email addresses for different types of those service requests. For example, I'll go back to the e-commerce one as well. If there's returns or if there's shipping issues, then your domain. If it's returns at your domain, and then that way those requests to the right teams at the right time.
Yeah. I'll also note, I was going through that as emails as an example. There's no reason that you can't do the same thing for the form. So if I go,
yeah, you did the wrong one.
Leave it that way. If I go back to the form and go through here, I can do the same thing, and it will automatically assign any support request through a specific form. So maybe I have my tech form or my just general management form or whatever it might be to a specific person to respond to those.
Further I think in my experience, and maybe yours as well, Dom, my preference specifically for gathering information would be, instead of having an email address on your website, is to have a form. That way you can structure the type of, for example, if you have an email address on your website and it's about a support request, somebody might write, hey, my X is broken, can you help me fix it? Then you're actually having to go back and be like, cool, can you tell me a little bit about what's happening? And then there might be a bit of to and fro to try and actually understand exactly what the issue is. If you're using a form, then you can structure that sort of, I guess, the questions that need to be asked. And then there's, I guess it's making it a little bit quicker to understand what the actual issue is specifically. So in my, probably agree with this, yeah. Remove all email addresses from support from your website, and then basically link them. So if you've got emails to say if they've got an issue, link it to a specific page on your website and have the form there, and have that form specific to that request. And then that to direct and gather that information a little bit quicker, rather than having to do the dance around asking the right questions. Not everyone's going to have the right knowledge to tell you that right information. So if you can help guide them as best as possible, I think that's going to make sure that you have happy customers sort their issue out a lot sooner.
Absolutely.
Sweet. Nice one, Dom. That's a good one. That was routing conversations. So automatically, I think hopefully everyone's getting around this. If not, it's a pretty feature. I thought I'd just mention it anyway. But if we've got the survey, so satisfaction survey. So say, for example, we've got somebody that has reached out to us for a support request, and then we've gone through and we want that person has received, I guess, the level, well, they've been happy with our sort of level of service. So we go through here, obviously go to service and then feedback surveys. In here is the CSAT, so the customer satisfaction survey that I've just spun up here. Obviously, hopefully those that have Service Pro have kind of played in here a little bit as well. And obviously what the contents of those that email is going to be specifically. One thing to do is that they've got sort of like become date, start from scratch, and static lists. One thing that's pretty easy to do, if you actually go into start from scratch, edit criteria, and then go to ticket status, and you have closed, that means that they'll receive that at the end of that ticket. And once that ticket's been closed, they'll receive and give feedback on how that was as well. There is an area here to say that when it meets the criteria, add delay. Personally, I think it's a good customer experience to receive that a couple of minutes after, whether it be 30 minutes, 15 minutes or something. I think straight away, it's just a fairly full on, just let them simmer and have that, let them have the issue fixed. But it's solely dependent on what your business or organization thinks that's right for the business. So again, that one, if you want to go into it, CSAT, customer satisfaction, go to recipients and then start from scratch, edit that criteria. I'll show you it quickly. We delete this one here. So we go to ticket properties, and then you'll see at the very top here, the most popular, the ticket status, and what we want to go is any of, and then the closed. Many ticket pipelines, you know, we can select them all essentially if we want. We can just apply those filters as well, and then apply that, and then that would show up there as well. It's a pretty simple one, but I think it's going to help you get a good idea about forming, I guess, support team. But also, if you guys ever drop the ball, you're completely across it. And if you're a business owner or you're a manager or anything like that, you're able to get eyes across those as well. So there's another one there. Bit of an easy one, though. I hopefully across that anyway. All right, service SLAs to define priority.
Cool. So SLAs, for those who don't know, stand for service level agreements. It's effectively the sort of internal promise you're making about how quickly you can respond to that service anyway, in terms of how these guys use it. If you want to set up SLAs for your service pipeline, for your support pipeline, what you're effectively doing is saying, how long should I safely expect to be able to respond to a support request, so that then you can report against that. Was I, like, over the last month, have we been able to respond to and close those support requests in a timely manner? To get there, start at the same place we've started a few times now, in your inbox settings. Here, different channels, what we were talking about a moment ago. If I go to the next tab here, SLAs, you'll see that there are some options here with time to first reply and time to close. I'll turn these off for now so that we can go through them one by one. There's some context here for what they're talking about and when they should apply. Like I said, you're effectively saying, hey, after a ticket comes in or a support request is made, how long should I give the team to respond to it before it's considered late? And how long should I give the team to close it before it's considered late? So if I go for time to reply, I'll turn that on. It's going to say, A, does this apply to everything in the inbox equally, or does it apply to just, like, do you want separate rules for different priorities? If we go based on priority, I can say, hey, if I get a low priority ticket come in, I think that in the first 4 hours, it should say that someone needs to respond in soon. That's our limit. And definitely they should get a response within 8 hours, which I think makes sense. That's a work day, right?
Yeah.
Priority for medium ones, it's due a little bit quicker. It's maybe not quite as casual as the low ones. Still takes a day to respond to, perhaps. It's not necessarily something we're going to drop everything for, but something that we're going to have to look at that day. And then for high, those numbers come right down. We have 1 hour to respond before it starts to think about being late, and we have 4 hours to respond before it is definitively considered late.
But customers will always select high.
Customers will often select high. If you give them the choice, they're going to take it. Similarly, time to close, same process. How long should it take to close the ticket? I think minutes or hours. So if you're days, you're probably a bit too high. But effectively, how long should it take us to close a ticket? And how long before we consider a ticket to be overdue? So for example, for this one, I've said, hey, ideally, if we could close everything within 24 hours, but we're going to start calling it overdue and start to sort of have after 2 days. What this does is effectively means that each ticket is created. I'll see if I can't find an example here for you. Each ticket is created with those statuses built in. And then as they move through those processes, it will basically just check whether or not we are effectively and whether or not that is being addressed. So if I go here into this top one and then drop down into my properties in the ticket, and I'll just search for SLA. You'll see here the time to close has been defined based on how long I've given it to be closed. It'll update the status based on how it's traveling, and it will update the first response based on how it's traveling. If you come in under that time limit, it will be marked as such. If you are overdue and you go over the time limit, it will be marked as such. And then all of that feeds through into reporting. So if you want to be able to report on how effectively your team is closing tickets, whether or not they're doing it in a timely manner, and whether they are taking their time and maybe sort of casting a bit of a shine on your business by taking too long to respond to things, you can build out some reporting that tracks all that. How quickly are we closing tickets? How effectively are we doing our jobs?
So essentially the CX doesn't necessarily have to be in the weeds. They can just sort of see how they're going as a business, but also how they're going individually as a rep.
Yeah. So it tracks it at the ticket level. So you'll be able to see, hey, of 30 tickets this month, 10 of them were overdue. And then you can filter that down. Who are the people who were ticket? Why were they considered overdue? Were they particularly tricky problems, or did someone just not respond in time? What might have led to that? Yeah,
awesome. And that's a fairly new feature. Well, they've been building on it, I guess, over the last few months.
It's gone through a few little changes a bit, but I think perhaps it's still being fleshed out. One of those tools that's in production.
Awesome. All right. Make use of the customer portal. I will preface by saying that this was brought in last year, I think it was, the customer portal for service. Around inbound last year, September. And I think that there's probably a fair way to go to say, I think that if we bring this one across here now, this here is our, I guess, our customer portal that we've created in our demo account. I did create a ticket. Very interesting. There was a ticket there, I promise you.
I tried it.
Yeah. But so basically, this is where I think that they'll manage. Go through. This is where I guess it's sort of auto logging in, isn't it? It's all right.
Perhaps not.
It's fine. So this is, I guess, where people, if they wanted to, there's a lot going on here. we can manage their tickets. So if there's a large amount of tickets, they can go in there and they can obviously communicate or update or see the progression of that ticket anyway. What are we doing here?
I was just gonna, while you talk, this one.
Sweet. Yeah, so we can see at the very top here as well that we've added an area here that you can file a support ticket. So this is an individual login for each of the users itself. I feel like it's in its very early stages to functionality. I think there should be a lot more coming, I think, to this feature. At the moment, it's just having a ticket. I think Dom's just trying to log into his portal so he can see his tickets. He's got a bunch in there anyway to play around with. You'll be able to sort of see the activity. So I guess with a company that's having a large amount of tickets for a customer that they've got, they're able to log in and actually go see what the status is of that effectively and manage those tickets as a whole as well. I wish I had some more tickets here to show you, but they seem to have disappeared. Where was we click on tickets? No, it's definitely not there.
Yeah. So, to answer your question, Bree, am I able to create a form that it can be automatically created into the customer portal? Yes. So there's a page there that you can see file a support ticket. That is a link that you link back to one of your forms if you have a form built to create tickets. This is the same example form that Trav was showing earlier. So you can connect your ticket form into the portal itself to generate tickets. I have a sneaking suspicion that this one is just putting those tickets into a different pipeline than the one our portal is connected to. But when those are submitted, they'll appear in that ticket portal. It'll give the user some information about when that ticket was submitted, how long it's been open, if it's open or closed. It also provides an opportunity to have some back and forth with the person about the ticket. So users in HubSpot, your staff can leave comments and respond to those tickets, and they'll show up in the portal so that someone can log in, see all of the tickets that they have open, see where those conversations, what's been closed, and sort of it makes that experience a little bit better for them than having to find an old chat or like trawl through their emails looking for the conversation, stuff like that.
Yeah, it's making it easier. Nice. Service reporting. Did you want to bring this one across?
Sure. So as with almost everything else in HubSpot, there is a ton that can be done in the reporting tool. I know that that's something that's come up with the sales chats and the marketing chats we've had on previous HubSpot users. Much like those processes and those tools in HubSpot, there's a full suite of service reports that are worth knowing about. What we're looking at here is another portal. This is a portal that we, as well as a bunch of other users of HubSpot, have access to just to run. So what we're seeing here is some reporting out of that platform, which does things like give you ideas of how many tickets you're getting on a day-to-day basis, how many tickets are being assigned to different people on a day-to-day basis, how long tickets are spending in the pipeline, all of that sort of stuff. So there's a go through here, chat wait time, how long are people waiting in the chat tool before someone responds to them. 12 days, rough day for this account.
That's live chat too.
How long tickets are sitting in pipelines and how quickly they're moving through, stuff like that. There's also, as with some of the other tools, pre-built reports themselves in the reporting tool. That what we were just looking at is an analytic tool. So if we go reports, analytic tools, and service analytics, you get some basic pre-built reporting from HubSpot you can use to just sort of get a quick understanding it to be important. But if you want to go a little bit deeper and do your own reporting, going into the reports and setting up a dashboard or setting up some custom reports is probably the best way to go about that. If I have a look for service dashboard, get one earlier, let's see if it's still there.
There's a couple.
Like I said, this is something that is built out by a lot of different users, so it's not necessarily all of our data in here. Let's just create our own, I reckon. So if I hit create data and type in, or scroll down, I guess, to the service area, you'll be able to see some of what you can do. Service overview just brings in some generalist reports similar to the service analytics area. Performance over time helps you track how you're doing over any sort of time scale, and performance breaks that information down into the individual support agents that you have responding to tickets and support requests and that sort of thing. The SLA performance review is what I mentioned earlier. How quickly are we closing tickets? Are we doing it within the time frame we've specified as successful? stuff like that. You can also go and build your own in the custom reporting tool. So you can do things like say, hey, of our customers in this segment, who's creating the most tickets? If you use personas, which of our persona creates the most tickets? And of those tickets, what are the things that are, because that can help inform the challenges and the goals of your personas, right? If you have an idea of the sorts of requests they're making, then build a report that shows you that and use that data. So there's a lot that you can do in the reporting tool. It's as all of the other reporting that we've shown in other calls, not hugs, videos. So I recommend jumping in there, having a look, and sort of building some stuff out, because it's pretty mental, the sorts of stuff you can pull together.
You can go as granular, starting with service reporting or reporting as a whole for everything. You can get a little bit overwhelmed with the amount of reporting. What I highly recommend, if you are doing reporting and you want to see, close HubSpot, close your laptop, close your computer down, pull out paper, and on what you want from a reporting, rather than because you can get in here and you can start playing with funnels and you can start playing with visualizations, and you're like, oh, I didn't know I could do that. I didn't know I could do that. And then all of a sudden 2 hours has gone by and you're like, anything. So I think if you close the computer altogether, get a pen and paper and go, what is the reporting that I need to see from my day-to-day in my business, and then actually then open up HubSpot and then build out those reports. And then after you've built them out, then go play around and stuff. You can spend hours, literally hours in here going and saying, oh, I didn't know I could do this. I didn't know I could do that. As long as you got that core fundamentals of what that reporting is, you're happy. But I think what I see a lot of people do is half build reporting because they just get away, and then there's reporting there that just really is not relevant to them day to day. It's there, it looks good, but it's not relevant to what they're at their day to day. So that's probably the biggest thing with reporting ever. I think the big part. So yeah. Awesome, thanks, Doc. Make use of the HubSpot app. So the HubSpot app, consistently, probably on a fortnightly basis, gets updates to it. And there's been some really large updates over the last, maybe 6 months, I think, when it comes to the usability of it. If you haven't downloaded the app, it's available on Android and also on iPhone. But if you are on the go, or you're a smaller organization, or even if you're managing your own team in regards to support requests, the actual app itself, you can manage what you could on the app itself. And that's whether that's a conversational inbox or whether that's just management of tickets as well. You're able to reply back and it will actually fill up. If you've got automation set up, it will do that as well. But if you're on the go and obviously you're not on your computer and you're and logging into the web browser on your iPhone for HubSpot, it's weird. It's weird that they haven't mobile optimized it yet, but they probably don't want to force people to be using the mobile, because the user experience is probably not going to be as good as it is on a desktop. But the mobile is really, really solid. It's solid for a salesperson, it's solid for a service person, and it's solid for a marketer too. And so much so, this is about service, but even from a marketing standpoint, all your social stuff, you can then manage your social on there. From a service, you can make phone calls on it. You can send emails. You can do everything you can do basically on HubSpot, but it's for people on the go. So I highly recommend, if you're not using the HubSpot app, download it. A lot's changed. I remember 5 years ago, the app was pretty standard. You could only really see contacts and maybe deals. I don't think you could see deals back in the day, but it's really building into a really great app, and they're spending a lot of time and money on it. Cam has placed a link to the page where you can learn a little bit more about mobile, or go on the App Store or Google Play Store and search HubSpot, and it should pop up free. Go in, sign in. It should sync all the data across as well. The last hug we did, which was specifically around sales, you can also link up your as well to your phone, but also you can also link up your caller ID with. So if the number is known within HubSpot and your phone rings and the number is known within HubSpot but not your mobile phone, it will still pop up and tell you the name of that person without having the actual phone, which is pretty cool. I will leave a link there. It should pop up there. If we're on YouTube, I'll put a link there to our last hug so that you can go through and learn how to set that all up.
Yeah, I think it's worth noting that the stuff we SLAs. Obviously, time to response is probably one of the most important things when it comes to support and service. You don't want someone to have to sit there and wait and not know if their message is being seen and not know what's happening and when they're going to hear back from you. So a lot of the tools and a lot of the HubSpot allows you to do is with a view of limiting that time to make it as small as possible. Connecting it to your phone is probably one of the things that has the biggest impact. So being able to respond as soon as you see something come in, even if it's just to say, hey, look, we're taking a look at that, we'll be in touch as soon as we can do wonders for keeping people sort of, hey, maybe not happy, but keeping them like from spilling over if it's a major problem, and give you some time to formulate a proper response and actually do the legwork of finding out what's going on. So yeah, I think that's kind of why it makes so much sense and why it's worth doing, especially for your support team if you have one.
Yeah. You don't have to have notifications turned on to. Well, you can pick the notifications. Yeah. Well, the is that if you've got the sales extension on, it will show you value of people opening up emails. So just choose the notifications that you want in because it can get fairly battery will run out of battery. Well, your phone will run out of battery pretty quickly. Use a workflow to automate tasks. This one here?
Yeah.
Maybe.
So I think that this is much like reporting, one of those things that is kind of infinitely broad. There's a million things that you can do with a workflow based on a million different factors. I think of a few different ones that could be worth keeping track of or keeping note of so that you can better use the system and the fact that everything in HubSpot is conjoined to make the most out of the information you're getting, right? So if we just look at some standard, I say standard in that we're not using any sort of out-of-the-box tools, but they're not necessarily ones that come with HubSpot. These are things you'll have to consider how to build yourself. Things like being able to track the number of tickets being assigned to a company so that you know that all staff members at the same company are all issuing tickets independently of each other. But that means that the company itself, clearly there's been a breakdown in training or understanding that's leading to their staff having issues with the platform or your product or your service or whatever it might be. This is an example of one that would basically say, hey, if a company acquires more than 20 tickets across all of the different customers or contacts that are submitting them, then send an email to the owner to say, hey, you probably to the company, organize some training, organize some onboarding, or at least just sort of sit down with their team to go through it because they're having some issues. So this here relies on a calculated field, which is basically just counting the number of tickets that are assigned. And then when that number hits a certain point, 20 in this case, send an email to the owner of that company to reach out to them. Similarly, I have here an example of, once it loads up, an escalation automation. So there are certain processes already built into HubSpot that say, hey, send things happen if a priority is high or whatever. Let's say you want to take it one more. This is an example of a workflow that is waiting to see when a ticket has been open for more than 5 days and no one's spoken to them in more than 5 days, to basically escalate it to say, hey, this ticket's gone unanswered and unreached for 5 days. No one's spoken to this person. No one's closed this ticket. We need to, someone needs to get on this now. What it's doing is basically waiting for a ticket to the right pipeline in the right stage, which is not closed effectively. If it's been created more than 5 days ago, and if the last message sent, if the last conversation that happened was more than 5 days ago, then one, send the customer an email saying, hey, look, sorry about the wait, we're on. Please don't sort of think we're not. And then send an email both to...
But we are.
Send an email both to the owner of that ticket, to the owner of that contact, and to another person, maybe like their superior or someone else in your team to just manage it. Someone needs to talk to this person because they've been sitting there for 5 days and it can't go any longer, right? So if you have some sort of escalation process in there, just to sort of protect you from things getting missed, and it happens, like two people think that the other person's looking after the ticket, or it hasn't really filed, or it's been assigned to someone that it shouldn't have been assigned to, or something like that, right? This is just something that can protect you on the other end so that nothing falls through the cracks. Last example I had, once it loads up, potential testimonial opportunity. So sometimes you'll just crush a support request out of the park, get to it quickly, respond to it quickly, and not only do you solve whatever issue they're having, but you get a little bonus bump to reliability and your look in their eyes, right? Because hey, this company responded to my thing so quickly and efficiently that I'm very impressed. I love the way they responded to my support request. If that happens, that's probably a good indicator that someone should reach out and see if they're testimonial, right? So this one here says, hey, if we close a ticket and the time to close is less than 3 days, if it's a minimum amount of time, maybe even like less than 1 day, just maybe check in with them, see if their experience was positive enough to justify them maybe like giving us a quote for the website or something, right? Can be very basic as that. There's no sort of pressure. We're not contacting them. We're just saying to a staff member, hey, just touch base with them. If they had a good time, if they enjoyed that experience, let's pop it on the website. So that could be a very quick and easy way to gather data, because it can be awkward asking for those sorts of things. But if you do it immediately after they've had a good experience, then your odds improve, right? So those are 3 ways that I think that the workflow can be used to work in tandem with tickets, as well as some of the objects in HubSpot, companies, contacts, etc., to try and achieve some pretty specific things.
Awesome. We've got use a chatbot to get answers to customers quickly. So we should be using it more than what I see out there. But for connected accounts for knowledge base and live chat, having the ability for people to utilize this with their knowledge base. Now, this does come with a caveat that having your up-to-date knowledge base is necessary. So if you are migrating from, say, Zendesk or something, there is a migration tool to go over and make sure everything's missed. But one thing I think we mentioned this morning, I think it was, is just making sure, I think, that if there are support requests coming in that are outside the knowledge base, is to potentially every fortnight to month collate those questions and update that knowledge base. So those newer questions are there, so that if they are using this tool specifically, they can get that answer straight away rather than having to reach out to your team. If you have got a knowledge base, one, because this won't work otherwise, but the knowledge base obviously filled out with all of the necessary articles that you've got, and then under it's got a chat flows, and then underneath that, what we want to do is click on create a chat flow, and then go to website, and then make sure that it is knowledge base and live chat. Then you can go through. Obviously, if you've set up a chatbot before, then be able to sort of select the necessary knowledge base that it pertains to, and then select the inbox as well that it will store that chat into as well. Again, that might be shipping or might be support, whatever that might be, and create this. Go through and then basically go through and set it up as you would normally, and how it would display. They ask, it's going to index the knowledge base to make sure it provides them saying, hey, is this going to answer some of your questions, with giving them the option to go and then assign that to a person to talk in a live chat scenario as well. Bit of an easy one.
One of the other good things about the chatbot and the way that works, the chat flow, is that it has its own suite of assigned conversations. You can see on the left there, Trev. So they ask about certain questions, assign it to X, Y, or Z to a certain person. It's a little bit more fully featured in the some of the other chat flows, some of the more automated ones. But if you wanted to be able to do that, hey, if these people are interested in this particular thing, if they have a question about pricing, send them to a specific person to answer that question.
One thing is you can collect the CSAT as well at the end. So if somebody if you have helped you out today, yep, all good, then this will pop up at the end as well, so that you can get the feedback on how good your support requests are going. And last but not least, use Slack to notify the right teams. We use it for, if you want to talk about it, Tom, but we use it ourselves specifically. Sure. This is it. So in this case, when somebody has a chat, like we live on Slack in regards to our internal collaboration, but in order to talk to people on a chatbot, we don't necessarily want to flick back and HubSpot. We also got the internal notification ding. But using the Slack notification for us will allow us to go through and actually in real time chat to the person on our website through HubSpot in Slack. So it just, I guess, makes it easier for us to get to it. And in that case, direct the right conversation to the right channel as well.
Yeah. I think it's very useful. I know that, like Trav says, not everyone sits on HubSpot every day. I know that we don't spend every moment of every day on there. So Slack is something that just runs in the background, and having the messages that get sent there does that same thing you mentioned. Increases the odds of someone responding quickly, right? The sooner you see the message and the sooner you respond, the better the experience is going to be. So having it pushed to whatever platform makes the most sense. Slack, I think, is probably the most fully featured one at this point. I know that I think they're working towards Teams. Don't quote me on that, but I think they're working towards Teams. I think it's out now, yeah. So depending on what platform you use and what makes sense, having it be those places improves your chances. I think it's also worth noting, and maybe this is a little bonus tip because it took me a while to figure out. Oh wow, you really zoomed in here.
Sorry.
Glasses on.
I'm gonna zoom out here.
If we go into our inbox, understanding who is quote unquote available to take a chat or a conversation in HubSpot can be a little bit confusing. You'll see in the top here that there's a little message saying you're available. What that means is that Trav, who is logged in to this portal at present, is being available by the system. So if a new chat request comes in, it will be given to him as long as he meets the whatever criteria, because he's considered available. If he needs to step away from his computer, or if he has something going on, he can shut that off, which marks him as away, which means that those chat requests get pushed to him because the system understands that he may not respond quickly enough, right? So if you're unsure on who is available and who isn't, that's how you can control that up here. There are also some tools in the settings, not quite in the settings, in the little actions, manage team availability. So this is where you can control who is and is not available on your team at any given point. So let's say, for example, I can see certain people who are in the system in this portal at present, and they are marked as available. There are also people who are in the system but not currently in the portal. They are marked as away, and I can control that here as well. So if I want them to be available, even if they might not be at their computer, but they will be soon or something like that, if I'm in a management position, I can set them as available so that they get the chat responses. All of that is to say, you're not in HubSpot, you're considered away from it, so it's not going to assign things to you. But if you have Slack open, then that gives you the chance to still communicate and still be part of the conversation, even if you're not technically available, if that makes sense.
Awesome. Makes sense. Well, I think that's the 10, and we're coming up to 11 now. So if you've got any questions or ideas, more so in the chat, or if you guys are watching this on YouTube, make sure you drop them in the comments below or in the chat box here, and we'll get back to you on that as well. So just a reminder as well, we'll have the recordings and the slide deck up soon. We'll send an email out shortly to everybody with the recording, and the recording will be also up on YouTube as well. So if there's any questions around what we've spoken about today, make sure you hit us up as well. All good?
All good.
No worries. Thanks for joining today, guys. And we'll reach out soon for our next Hug Day. Cheers. Have a good day.
See you.